welcome back to our Bible in a Year reading plan. And we are reading through Genesis to Revelation this year in our Bible in a Year reading plan. If you haven't already, I encourage you to download our reading plan for free from our website, and you can find a link for that in the description. We also have some weekly reflection questions, which you can also get from our website if you would like to go a little bit deeper in your studies for the week. Okay, so today we're going to be diving into Genesis, and we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 32 to 35. And per usual, we're going to be reading from the New American Standard Bible. Okay, so let's get started. Genesis chapter 32. Now, as Jacob went on his way, the angels of God met him. And when he saw them, Jacob said, "This is God's camp." So he named that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers ahead of himself to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He commanded them, saying, "This is what you shall say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says the following. I have resided with Laban and stayed until now, and I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent messengers to tell my lord, so that I may find favor in your sight." And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and furthermore, he's coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks, the herds, and the camels into two companies. For he said, "If Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the company which is left will escape." Then Jacob said, "God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, Lord, who said to me, 'Return to your country and to your relatives, and I will make you prosper.' I'm unworthy of all the favor and of all the faithfulness which you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become two companies. Save me, please, from the hand of my brother and from the hand of Esau, for I fear that he will come and attack me and the mothers with the children. For you said, I assuredly make you prosper and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which is too great to be counted." So he spent the night there. Then he selected from what he had with a gift for his brother Esau 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. Then he placed them in the care of his servants, every flock by itself, and said to his servants, "Pass on ahead of me and put a space between flocks." And he commanded the one in front, saying, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, 'To whom do you belong, and where are you going? And to whom do these animals in front of you belong?' then you shall say, 'These belong to your servant Jacob. It is a gift sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he also is behind us.' Then he commanded also the second and the third and all those who followed the flock, saying, 'In this way you shall speak to Esau when you find him, and you shall say, Behold, your servant Jacob also is behind us.' For he said, I will appease him with the gift that goes ahead of me. Then afterward I'll see his face. Perhaps he will accept me." So the gift passed on ahead of him, while he himself spent that night in the camp. Now he got up that same night and took 2 wives, his 2 female slaves and his 11 children, and crossed the shallow place of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestling with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he had not prevailed against him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What's your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have contended with God and with men and have prevailed." And Jacob asked him and said, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And he blessed him there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, for he said, "I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared." Now the sun rose upon him, just as he crossed over Peniel, and he was limping on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the sons of Israel do not eat the tendon of the hip, which is on the socket of the hip, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the tendon of the hip. Chapter 33. Then Jacob raised his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming, and 400 men with him. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel, and the two slave women. He put the slave women and their children in front, and Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. But he himself passed on ahead of them and bowed down to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. Then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. He raised his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, "Who are these?" So he said, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant." Then the slave women came forward with their children, and they bowed down. And Leah likewise came forward with her children, and they bowed down. And afterward Joseph came forward with Rachel, and they bowed down. And he said, "What do you mean by all this company which I have met?" And he said, "To find favor in the sight of my Lord." But Esau said, "I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have be your own." Jacob said, "No, please. If now I have found favor in your sight, then accept my gift from my hand. For I see your face as one sees the face of God, and you have received me favorably. Please accept my gift which has been brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have plenty." So he urged him, and he accepted it. Then Esau said, "Let's journey on and go, and I will go ahead of you." But he said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are frail, and that the flocks and herds that are nursing are a matter of concern to me. And if they are driven hard, just one day all the flocks will die. Please let my Lord pass on ahead of his servant, and I'll proceed at my leisure, at the pace of the cattle that are ahead of me, at the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord at Seir." Then Esau said, "Please, let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." But he said, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built for himself a house and made booths for his livestock. Therefore the place is named Succoth. Now Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and camped before the city. He bought the plot of land where he had pitched his tent from the hand of the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. Then he erected there an altar and called it Elohi Israel. Chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to visit the daughters of the land. When Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he took her and lay with her and raped her. But he was deeply attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the girl, and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this young woman as a wife." Now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah, but his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob said nothing until they came in. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. Now the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard about it, and the men were grieved, and they were very angry, because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by sleeping with Jacob's daughter, for such a thing ought not to be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage, and intermarry with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. So you will live with us, and the land shall be open to you. Live and trade in it, and acquire property in it." Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, "Let me find favor in your sight, and I will give you whatever you tell me. Demand of me ever so much bridal payment and gift, and I'll give whatever you tell me, but give me the girl in marriage." But Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor with deceit, because he had defied their sister Dinah. They said to him, "We cannot do this thing, that is, give our sister to a man who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition will we consent to you, if you will become like us, in that every male of you will be circumcised. Then we'll give our daughters to you, and we'll take your daughters for ourselves, and we will live with you and become one people. But if you do not listen to us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and go." Now their words seemed reasonable to Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. The young man did not delay to do this, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. Now he was more respected than all the household of his father. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the people of their city, saying, These men are friendly to us. Therefore, let them live in the land and trade in it. For behold, the land is large enough for them. We will take their daughters in marriage and give our daughters to them. Only on this condition will the men consent to us to live with us, to become one people, that every male among us be circumcised, just as they are circumcised. Will their livestock and their property and all their animals not be ours? Let's just consent to them, and they will live with us. All who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and to his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. Now it came about on the third day, when they were in pain, that two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came upon the city undetected and killed every male. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the edge of a sword and took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. Jacob's sons came upon those killed and looted the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks, their herds, their donkeys, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and they captured and looted all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives, even everything that was in the houses. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, You have brought trouble on me by making me repulsive among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and since my men are few in number, they will band together against me and attack me, and I will be destroyed, I and my household. But they said, Should he treat our sister like a prostitute? This is 35. Then God said to Jacob, Arise, go to Bethel and live there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau. So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, Remove the foreign gods which are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your garments. And let's arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me on the day of my distress, and has been with me wherever I have gone. So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods which they had, and the rings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the oak which was near Shechem. As they journeyed, there was a great terror upon the cities which were around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. Then he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God had revealed himself to him when he fled from his brother. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the oak, and it was named Allon Bacuth. Then God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Padanaram, and he blessed him. And God said to him, Your name is Jacob. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. So he called him Israel. God also said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a multitude of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from you. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give to you. And I'll give the land to your descendants after you. Then God went up from him at the place where he had spoken with him. So Jacob set up a memorial stone in the place where he had spoken with him, a memorial of stone, and he poured out a drink offering on it. He also poured oil on it, and Jacob named the place where God had spoken with him Bethel. Then they journeyed on from Bethel, but when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, Rachel began to give birth, and she suffered severe difficulties in her labor. And when she was suffering severe difficulties in her labor, the midwife said to her, Do not fear, for you have another son. And it came about as her soul was departing, for she died, that she named him Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. And Jacob set up a memorial stone over her grave, that is a memorial stone of Rachel's grave to this day. Then Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the Tower of Eder. And it came about while Israel was living in that land that Reuben went and slept with his father's concubine Bilhah, and Israel heard about it. Now there were 12 sons of Jacob. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, then Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. And the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's female slave, were Dan, Naphtali, and the sons of Zilpah. Leah's female slave were Gad and Asher. These were sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padanaram. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre of Kiriatharba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had resided. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. Then Isaac breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, an old man of ripe age, and his son Esau and Jacob buried him. Okay, so that is our reading for today. And in today's story, Jacob's life, it's a reminder that living a life of blessing does not mean rather living a life free of sorrow or struggle. Though Jacob was clearly chosen to receive a special blessing from God, he also experienced intense struggles, right? And some of it was brought about due to his actions, while some of it was by no fault of his own. We see Jacob fled from Laban and just because of the injustice that he was experiencing, and he followed God's leading. It's interesting to know that as God speaks to Jacob in a dream, he reminds Jacob of what had happened at Bethel. The God who had been faithful to Jacob in the past was gently assuring him of his faithfulness in the present and his faithfulness to come. Now, Jacob headed back to the land of his birth to see his brother Esau. He did not know what would happen when he encountered his brother, right? That he had cheated. But before he encounters Esau, he meets someone else on his journey. Jacob wrestles with the Lord all night long and pleads for a blessing from the one who is wrestling. The Lord did bless him. However, he also left Jacob with a permanent reminder of the night he struggled with the Lord. Jacob was willing to do whatever it took to receive the blessing of God. Yes, Jacob's life, it was full of struggle and hardship, but it also overflowed with the blessing and favor of his God. He could always look back to the night when he met his God face to face. And that is our reading for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're enjoying our Bible in a Year reading plan, reading from Genesis to Revelation. And if you miss a day, what's important here is that you are spending time in God's words. If you miss a day, just pick right back up where you left off. Okay, it's perfectly okay. And I look forward to joining you tomorrow as we deep dive into another chapter in the book of Genesis as we move on to day 11.